together as we rise higher. There'll be amazing speakers there. There'll be amazing presence of the Lord there. But most of all, it'll be a time of iron sharpening iron. This is your friend Sam Chan saying, make time, make room, register today for iron sharpening iron.
Great confidence.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Tuesdays with the Ambassador of Hope. What a day to be alive, wherever you are on the surface of the earth. So long as there's breath in your nostrils and a heartbeat in your chest, there's hope for you. Whatever the week has been, listen, it's not over until God says it's over. Thank you for giving me this opportunity and privilege to come your way. I know you could have been in 1,000 places, but you chose to hang your heart with us. Episode number 134, the currency part 2. If you are not in part 1, I want you to send me a note to explain exactly where you were. That I didn't have the opportunity to hear this. But listen, we are doing business together and tonight is going to be special. This is a special one because I have right here with me in the studio some amazing colleagues of mine. Men that walk in wisdom, walk in anointing. They stand hand in hand, shoulder to shoulder, hand in hand with me in the work of ministry and leadership. All the way from the state of New Jersey, we have Pastor Joe Asma. Pastor Asma, just say hello to people tonight.
Hello there. It's good to be here.
And then we have on my left, it's all the way from Sunyani, Ghana, the most beautiful city in Ghana, Elim City Church, the apostle himself, Gospel Odame Kento. Pastor Gospel, say hello to people.
Hello, everyone. It's good to see all of you. Thank you, Bishop.
Thank you guys for coming. And you know something? If you are a follower of contact sports like soccer, whatever, you know that people sit on the bench. So we've got people who are sitting on the bench, and when one of them misfires, you know, we're going to get them in here. But we're going to have fun tonight. We've been dealing with the currency. But before then, I want to remind you that tomorrow, all roads, you know, once upon a time, all roads used to lead to Rome. But tomorrow, Rome is not important. All roads lead to Loganville, Georgia. ISI 2024, our 20th edition. When you saw the roles and things, Dr. Otabil is in town, Dr. Chand is in town, Dr. E. Dewey Smith is in town, Ofosu-Appiah is on his way here, and we're going to have fun. It's going to be awesome. Listen, the greatest investment you can ever make is to invest in yourself. Spend some time, come over. Listen, when you stay online, it's beautiful, you get information. But when you come in the room, you get information and impartation. It's going to be a blessing. I'm looking forward to seeing that the red carpet is all out there for you. People are coming all over from all over the world. The continents of the world are coming into Atlanta. We look forward to hosting you this weekend from tomorrow. So God richly bless you. Thank you. And we've been talking about the currency, and I want to do something very quickly, and then we're just going to get into a conversation. We're going to pick the wisdom of these great servants of God, and then we're going to have fun. If you have any question, just drop it, and let's see. But we started this exciting series on currency. And we established that currency is found in every nation, is a medium of exchange. And we established that it's not just money, like pounds or dollars or euros or kwaches or rands or all the, but it's a medium of exchange. It is with that we trade in this life. We established last week that currency comes from the Latin root currere, which means to flow, to run. So when you have currency, you are able to flow, you are able to run in this life. And with the right currency, you'll be able to transact business, this business called life. And that is what we've been looking at. Because the currency that you trade with today will buy you your desired future tomorrow. And please hear me and hear me well. Be very, very, very concerned about your future. You know why? Because you're going to live there. Today is the future you talked about yesterday. So every day you are heading towards that future. So please do that. All that you are doing today will become building blocks for a bigger, better, brighter tomorrow. And in the last episode 133, we started to look at probably the most powerful currency ever, and that is relationships. This currency is backed by the vaults of heaven, and it is validated by divinity. God was the first relationship maker. He created Adam and Eve to have a relationship. When Adam sinned, God could have chosen to create another person, but God came looking for Adam, telling Adam, this relationship means so much to me. In fact, he had to give up his best in order to gain that relationship back. So please don't sit back and say, I'm a private person, I don't need anybody, I came alone. No, you don't need that. One day you're going to find out that all your bridge between here and there is relationship. I have a question before we get in there. Has somebody ever asked you this question? How did you get here? How did you get here? I'm sure all of you may have heard that before, one way or the other. And the answer may say, I came here by my hard work. I proved myself by my bootstraps. My education, I learned hard. I did this. But all those answers are not entirely true. You got here because somebody helped you get here. You got here because somebody put their credibility on the line for you. You got here because somebody believed in you. You got here because somebody tapped you on the shoulders and gave you another chance. You got here because somebody saw something new that you hadn't seen and gave you that opportunity. Take that currency very serious. Relationship. Somebody asked me a question yesterday, and maybe I'll try to fill it later. But Pastor Smile, Pastor Gospel, thank you again. So what's your take on what we're talking about so far? Relationship, currency. Any taker as we go along?
Thank you very much, Bishop. I believe that this is a heavy-duty subject. This currency is, when I listened last week and you were breaking down currency, and I actually was like all of us, where is he taking this from? Because we hear about the currency of the kingdom, and there's a lot. Many times we talk about it being faith as the currency, but relationship. I realize that you said it right. Everything about us is about relationship. We got here, and you asked the question, how did we get here?
Right.
None of us got here by ourselves. We got here because of relationships. Father, mother, a man had to, meet a woman,
right.
Fall into love, make babies, and we got here. In ministry, it runs through it. So I believe that this is so important to us, and especially to people of faith who have found our way back into the hands of God based on what Christ did for us to reconcile us back to God. It's relationship,
right?
And this currency thing, I think it is very powerful.
It is.
And it has to be hammered in. I wish that everyone will listen to it. If you haven't shared it yet, share it, because this is what we need. We need to talk about relationships. I'm sitting here because of this currency. When we were driving in, the three of us were talking about it. We were talking about, this currency thing relationship. What would the discussion be? And we looked at each other and said, well, we are in this car right now driving because of the currency.
Right.
And somebody introduced one to another, and then it has formed a network. So we need it. Everything about us and our future is built on that.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Pastor Gospel. What's your take? Currency, relationship.
It's amazing what you are dealing with, because if I would say anybody is on top of his game, it is you doing this at this right time, because it is something we've taken for granted for so long.
Yeah.
And people talk about it, but they've not taken their time to really dive deep like you've done. And where you're taking it from, it's very insightful. It brings meaning to so many things. It makes people think and think again. I was also reflecting when we were in the car coming. I didn't have the opportunity to listen last week, I must confess, because I was in transit.
Sure.
And listening to it whilst coming here, I felt like, whoa, this is home. Everything you were talking about, I can say they resonate with me, because I've come this far because of precious relationships.
Yeah.
I've stood on shoulders to be able to get where I am at the moment, and I don't think I have done anything so special apart from what I have put in myself. I believe people have given me the opportunity to get to where I am.
Right.
And God being the divine orchestrator, organizing everything, linking me with the right people at the right time, bringing me where I am. So I really value what you're talking about, and I believe everyone listening at home should take this in. It's something we have to ponder over and over. We have to meditate on it, and we have to practicalize it. It's not something we have to just listen and go to sleep. We have to begin to work with it. Some rusted relationships, some things that we have swept under the carpet, some things we've not dealt with, our heads and pain and all that has become impediment to the relationships we have. I think it's time we get to the workshop and start taking the engine down, do some overhauling, and get the engine flowing again.
I love that. That's a big one. He's an engineer, so you can see where he's coming from. But thank you, Pastor Gospel. Now, colleagues, we are all ministers, and there are some trends that we see around please don't get me wrong, around our trade, as it were, because every trade has their own peculiarities. Yeah. And I realize that, I don't know, maybe I may be generalizing. If I'm wrong, please forgive me, but I realize that with what we do as ministers, many times we get so obsessed with my ministry, my calling, my anointing, that we don't really stop for other people.
Yeah.
I feel that there are maybe some younger people that all they need is just one validation. Just walk through their territory one day. But I realize there's this territorialism, there's this and this, my territory is my this. So what can we do to make this thing better? Because it bothers me personally. In fact, last week, if you remember, I spoke about the fact that why do we have to build relationships based on a pulpit? Yeah. So what if you don't have a pulpit tomorrow? Yeah. And no more your brother? I've been thinking about, is there any wisdom in this for us to pick our brains on?
But Pastor Gospel and I were talking, I think we're having this conversation about the insecurities that we have right now in our trade, as we call it, in our circles. And there's always that sense of competition. It's not loudly spoken, it's not on the
but it's there.
It's there. That he's doing it this way, so I must go and do it that way. And there's always that rub on shoulders, and we tend to fight each other because everybody is thinking about mine. It has to be me, my church, my pulpit, and all of that. And we leave the important things out, and that is the people, the relationships that we need to build. I believe I can tell, and it's known, it's not a secret, that I'm sitting here because somebody validated me. It took Pastor Frank to really validate my ministry. When I put up his name on the wall, if you come to my office, his pictures are there, and people know, oh wow, you know him, he's the one. And it is the validation, and it's not because Pastor Frank needs anything from me, or pay me to put you up there. No, but it was because I had somebody who believed in what I didn't even believe in so much. I was running from this call. I didn't want it. But when one person poured everything, not just in the pulpit, not just for church, but behind the scenes for family. And I think that is what is missing.
Right.
We are missing the authenticity, of care and love to push others up, to make sure that others thrive.
I love that.
I love
that.
Because that is missing, there's always that. I believe that God is probably looking down on us and He's asking, what in the world are they doing down there, right? So I think that is what I would.
So Pastor Kofi, you agree? You agree with Pastor?
Yes, I do. I do agree. We have no question about what you're saying, that things have gone wrong.
Yeah.
We are in a bad place as leaders in the church, and I believe that when things go wrong, amendments need to be made. We need to correct things. We need to tear things down and begin to rebuild again. As we sit here, I must say emphatically that you are referring to us as colleagues, but you are our father, right? And I'm proud to be connected to you. I'm proud to say you are my father. I look up to you. And we need the fathers to come to the table and begin to realize that as much as they are fathers, they have some learning to also do. One of the things that led me to you is the humility, the willingness to open things up. You are always studying and learning, and you are not afraid to make correction when things go wrong. And there are people that are in leadership, they feel they've arrived at a certain position and making changes is not something they want to do. So I believe fathers must learn, and we as sons must also learn. We all have some learning to do to be able to change things, because if we don't do it and we continue in this direction, it's going to be terrible. I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, but that is why we are here, to look up to people who are willing to teach and willing to lead people. And I must commend you for taking this lead and doing what you're doing.
And I add to the correction, we are not colleagues.
I'm going to say it again. Don't pay any attention to them. But thank you, Pastor Gospel. I hope we are learning. We are all learning. And please, if you haven't shared, pick up your device and share. Please do that. The boss chick, God bless you. Auntie Mary Frimpong, you are on the line. God richly bless you. As a Kwame Richie prophet, all the way from Tema in Ghana. God bless you so much. We have this program is waiting for you. We need you here. Benedict Asante, I knew you'd come online. He's here, so I knew you'd come online. So I'm watching all of you. Rose Gooden, Rose, good evening to you. How are you? I hope you're doing well in Connecticut. God richly bless you. Nadia is in the house. Jacqueline, God bless you. God bless you. Shepherd, All Nations Church, Carrie's House, Accra, Ghana. God bless you so much. Louisa, Missy, God bless you. Reverend David Kwame Joe is in town. He's right here in Georgia. Georgia will never be the same after this man is gone. Nana, how are you tonight? So good to have you. Emma Ronnie is here. Nicholas Opuni is here. Ogazi is Centrix. He saw some of the best coutures all over the world. You know those things that I wear that make you learn. Yes, that's him. So if you need him, Ogazi is in All Nations. Come check him out. Gloria Osei is here. Michelson St. Alien. I like that. I like your name. God bless you. Well, Nadia Bai says, that's my pastor. Nadia, now can you explain to us why all of a sudden you have a pastor? Now you are in trouble. You are in Georgia now, so be very careful. You know, all of you, God richly bless you. God bless you. God richly bless you. But listen, we are talking about this currency called relationship. Why do people find it difficult to not only build relationships, but maintain relationships? Why? Because, sometimes you can find a human being created by God, and they have such a high turnover in relationships. And sometimes, you remember last episode, I talked about a friend of mine.
Yeah, for 40 years.
40 years. Yeah. We've been friends for 40 years. Yeah. And today, out of that, I had to validate somebody to him just before I came in here. So Why? Is there something? Please, can you school us a little bit? Was the gospel something for us to know?
I believe relationship is a very complex thing. When you come in contact with someone, when you befriend someone, or you have the opportunity to be a friend of someone, sometimes you take things for granted. And we get embittered on the way. Little things offend us. No, human beings are not perfect. We all have our weaknesses, we have our shortfalls. And when we get offended, instead of letting it go, forgiving, and moving on, we hold on to them. Sometimes we can easily forgive people who are far off than people who are closer to us, because we expect a lot from them. We think because they are close to us, they must know us, they should be sensitive to us and all that. But things do happen. I believe that to have a remedy to this situation, we must always remember the good in people.
Good. I like that.
We should remember
the good in people. Remember the good in and is it safe to say, Pastor Gospel, that there's more good in people than bad?
Oh, definitely. Sometimes
you heard that.
The percentage of bad in people kind of get escalated, but the rare thing is, it's like marriage. When you look at marriage, people have issues. This 80-20 rule. People have issues that are just small, 20%, and they see the 20 as 80%.
Oh,
and they see the 80 as 20.
I hope you're learning.
Because something has gone wrong. We measure on the negative.
Right.
So if we're going to move on, I believe that we should remember the best and forget the rest.
Oh, thank you. I like that. I like that. And maybe I'll piggyback on this and maybe talk to a pastor who is hurt and offended. Please don't go start a ministry because you got offended with somebody else. Let's heal. Let's heal. Because it's hard enough to plant a church with a healthy heart. You can imagine how it is to do it with a hurt heart. Somebody sent me a message, Pastor, based on last week's that. So do we have to, because she said I made a statement that go back and mend that old friends and things, and said, is it every relationship that got broken that you must go back to mend, or there are some? Then she also asked me that do we always have to reconcile? This is a big one. The way they are laughing. Listen, I'm going to keep quiet and they're going to talk. So take us, go ahead, let's do that. Because I could feel Pastor Gospel's anointing coming. You know, he has something to tell us. So when the gospel tell that's a heavy duty question. And she's watching, so you better.
No, I believe we have responsibilities as Christians.
Right.
We use the word of God to guide our lives, and we have to go on biblical lines.
Right.
As long as it's within our power to be at peace with people, we must be at peace with people. We have to do our part. We don't sit down to say, they offended me, so it's okay. The Bible doesn't say we should go to people when they offend us or when we offend them. It's both ways.
Right.
So it doesn't matter who got offended. Somebody need to start the process, initiate it. Somebody has to start working on it.
Okay.
And this is something we don't do. I don't believe that every relationship that get affected will be corrected and be restored to its original state. But at least we should be able to bring it to a place where we are not at war. We are not on each other's throat. We are not killing each other because something went wrong. We should be able to overcome certain things. And once a relationship get affected, I believe trust also get affected and it has to be built.
Right.
So if we don't relent and we start working on it and start building it up, we will probably restore it to its original state, or even much more than that. I've heard of situations where people were at war and now they become the best of friends than ever. So it's something that we can work out.
Pastor, is it okay to look at a relationship that has been damaged, broken, and say this is beyond repair? Much as maybe I'm not offended, I'm not angry, I don't think we need to reconcile again. Are there times like that?
I think naturally it comes a time. There are some that you know that, okay, this is gone.
Okay.
All right. Like if it's a marriage situation and
there's a divorce,
in a place and there's a divorce,
okay,
you know, and you know that the damage is done and all of that. Okay. Yes, it's gone, but it doesn't mark the end of your life.
Okay.
And therefore, it doesn't mark the end of your maybe relationship with that person in terms of forgiveness, because that forgiveness does you more good than the other person.
Okay.
And so we have to find in our hearts to heal.
Right.
And by healing, we have to release those that offended us and have them go.
That's
Because
brilliant.
if they don't
That's
belong
brilliant.
to your present, then they probably don't need to be here.
Okay.
They are not for the future. Okay. So the past helped you. They got you here. Just make sure that, like you say all the time, make sure that you exit right, end well, and move on.
Okay. That is super. That is super. Ladies and gentlemen, listen. If you have any question, could you just drop it? We want to look at your questions. We want to field your questions. Yeah. This is a great opportunity for us to talk. We want to dialogue with you. We don't want to scratch you where you are not itching. We don't want to attempt to answer questions you are not asking. So please drop. You have just about 11 minutes to do this. If you have any questions, let it come. Pastor Asma, what is on your mind concerning currency? We are talking about relationship. Yeah. Now, let me say this. What people don't sometimes realize is the fact that when you begin to traffic in this currency called relationship, sometimes you never know what it will do for you or your children. Yeah. Today, I was meditating on this and I thought about what I said last week about King Solomon. When he became king, his father had left him a building project. It was huge. Yeah. He had money, but he didn't have the materials. And the first thing he did was to write a letter to King Hiram and say, listen, you are my father's friend. This is a project that my father has left for me. I need timber, I need labor, I need this. He appealed to the relationship that his father left. Once there was a slave who had run away, and that slave went to get converted in the ministry of Paul. We are talking about Onesimus. And Paul had to send him back. But he wrote a letter. That's where the letter of Philemon came through. Yeah. And look at the way he negotiated. He said, hey, you are my friend. And don't forget, you even owe me your life. Yeah. So I want to say to somebody here that successful negotiation is a currency.
It is.
But many times it is based on what you have built in the past. Wow. Never forget that. What you have built in the past. Sometimes it takes just a phone call. Sometimes it takes just a little note. I remember a couple of years ago, Pastor Brian, IS in Ghana, where they were meeting, they were charging them. I mean, it was ridiculous. When somebody said, well, go see the minister. And they went to them. Then he called me and I prayed and I said, listen, God is going to do something. And he said, well, they said we should go and see this minister. And I said, who is the minister? And they mentioned the minister's name. And I kind of laughed. And I said, go. And I said, when you get there, mention my name. Tell the minister, I am your father. He said, Daddy, I said, mention my name to the minister. So they sat down for a long time. You know how it happens in where. And when they got in, they started talking, and Pastor Brian said to the minister, well, Pastor Frank Ofosu-Appiah is everything in the atmosphere changed. Said, then why have you to come to me? You know what? She was a member of All Nations Church. Wow. We prayed her into this, we encouraged her into this. Currency. What if I had treated her wrong? What if I hadn't done right by her? What if I didn't respect that currency? My friend, one day you are going to wake up and come into a glorious revelation that God brought you some of the best people to help you, but you didn't trade well. But that's by anything.
I'm listening to you, Daddy, and this is deep. What comes to mind is when Solomon had a chance to tell God, when God asked him, what is that you want from me? And a blank check. We could have filled it with so much. He could have filled with, some of us would just write one and then play with zeros.
Yeah, well, I would have done that.
But what Solomon asked for, the discerning heart, and why the discerning heart, so that he will be able to handle the people that God had entrusted into his hands. And I learned that, the wisdom in this is that the reason we all need wisdom and we must not lack in wisdom is because of people.
Right.
If we truly understand that our relationships, everything about us is people. God created us for people. And which means that we must understand also that human nature will be human nature.
Right.
And there are some things we can't change. Some people will forever be forgetful, but they are in our circles. What do you with them? Some of them, they will not remember that you helped them yesterday. All of these things.
Like the 9 lepers.
Like the 9 lepers. 9, they will walk, only one will return. It's human nature. And so we need the wisdom. I think that this is what that we must, as leaders, as pastors, exhibit or live it, and also demonstrate, have others learn from us.
Right.
That as long as you're going to have people around us, we're going to deal with all of these human nature things that are natural with human beings.
Right.
All right. And they will always they'll be judgmental, they'll criticize you. Relate with them, know at what level you relate to them, and just move on. And I think that this must be brought. We need this wisdom on learning to relate to people, live with people, and especially doing church, because you have
Right.
people coming from different places. You
Okay.
don't know them.
Right.
We need the wisdom and discerning heart to relate.
Thank you, Pastor Gospel. There's a question that has come here, and I think I want to direct it to you. You have everything. It says, what are some advice you would give after forgiving somebody dear to you, but you yourself, you are still hurting? What would you do? Then there's another one. Then I'll give that one to Pastor Asma.
All right. What I would say is we are all human and we go through all these things that are being talked about. We can do anything human, but the best way to approach this is to practice positive praying. When we start praying,
Oh, talk to me about that.
yeah.
Have you heard about that before? Where I'm coming from, there's no positive prayer. We want to kill our enemies. We want to kill them and tell God they died in their sleep. So I'm learning something. Please don't disturb me. Pastor Gospel, I'm all ears.
Yeah, because I think, see, when you talk to human beings, they can ignore your advice, they can just refuse to listen to you, they can block their ears. But the heart of the king is in the hands of the Lord.
Right.
When we talk to God and we pray to God, God is able to turn hearts around. And while we pray for these people, even though we don't like them or we are hurt, eventually we will get to love them because of the prayer. If we are concerned to pray for them, God will turn our heart around. Prayer does this wonder. It doesn't just bring a miracle. It also brings us to the position to be able to be receptive to these people.
Right.
So we have to be deliberate about what we do and not just expect it to happen accidentally. Sometimes we are sitting back and we are thinking this should work out. But I believe strongly that we have to be patient with the progress in people.
Right.
We have to be patient.
Did you hear that?
We have
be
to be
patient with the progress of
in
people,
Yeah.
which is also we are all evolving. We are growing.
God is not finished with us yet.
Oh, I love that.
We're still being
love
worked
that.
on day in and day out. And if we are being worked on, we expect the same. What you expect for yourself should be what you expect for people. So when these things happen, we must take time. Sometimes it happens immediately and you want to kill somebody. But you take your time to pray. Eventually, God will give you some wisdom and you'll be able to come down and take it in. And I believe when we do that, we'll be able to have results. Our hurt will be gone, our pain will be gone, and we'll embrace people.
You know, Pastor Cosmo, there's this little thing that I share, that some of my best relationships that I've had in life that culminated in ministry opportunities and didn't start well. They didn't start well. And I could have said, okay, you know where you want to go. But I pursued it and it's another story. But listen, I want you to bring in your questions. I want to Frank Yafe, New York, God richly bless you. Nana Opoku Mensa says hello, good evening, Bishop, Pastor Joe, Pastor Gospel, good evening, Esther, Naomi, God richly bless you. BJ Pencil, you are in the house. First impressions are an important currency. Yes, they are. God richly bless you. But there's another question from Nanaya that, okay, BJ,
Can I say something quickly too?
yes, leave BJ's question there. Pastor Asma is going to say something, then we'll look at the question. Then we'll come back to Nanaya.
The question before this, the one Pastor Gospel answered powerfully.
Yes.
You know, the person was asking also about themselves, he himself healing. You know, like, you know, you're forgiven, but you're still hurting. And I wanted to add that we cannot ignore. It's just like having a cut. You cannot ignore the wound. That you are wounded, that you are bleeding.
Right.
We are not saying that forgiving means that you pretend that you're not hurting. But it is for any wound you take time to dress it.
Right.
You put the right band-aid on, and it does not heal overnight. And so allow yourself to remind yourself that you are forgiven.
So it's a process. It's a process.
I just wanted to add that. Just remind yourself you've forgiven him, and I'm healing. I'm healing. Some days it will hit you, and remind yourself that I'm still in the healing process.
Wow. Okay. But that's after all the things you've said, your questions are still waiting for you. BJ says that, so first impressions are an important character. Yes, of course.
Yes, yeah.
Because I think in life, I hear you have only 7 seconds to make an impression.
Yeah.
So, you know, there are 3 O's in this life. People observe you, then they form opinions, then they give opportunities.
Observe, opinion, opportunity. You have to write this down. This is so powerful.
So don't forget.
I was waiting for the host to follow. I was joining my notes.
Yeah, so people will observe you.
Yeah.
You're gonna. So please, wherever you are, please understand, somebody is watching you.
Yeah.
And sometimes you don't have a second chance to make a second impression.
It's so important. Yes.
So you should always be on top of your game. You must. I'm not saying that you should be jittery, but so first impressions last. On that note, there's another question that comes. I think that was what we're going to give to Pastor Asma before this DJs came. There's one from Clifford. That one I won't let Pastor Asma answer because it's too close. But it says, the question says, I think there's a question from Nanaya about besides praying, if you can see that, if you can put it there. Nana says that besides praying, what are other tools to use to heal from grieving of a lost relationship?
Oh, wow. That's a big one.
It's a big one. Okay. What's your... For me, I was going to say this. You know, one of the relationships that I see in the book is the relationship between Saul and Samuel. You know, Samuel mentored Saul, anointed Saul. But when Saul became whatever, he started his own thing. And you can take me on. But I believe that most of Saul's issues, the source was Samuel. From day number one, Samuel sabotaged the man. Because remember that when Israel asked for a king, Saul took it personal until God said to him, they have not rejected you, it's me. So Saul had an issue. And the Bible tells us that, you know, Saul went home to Gibeah and Samuel went, and they never met again until his dying day. Which means Samuel intentionally avoided Saul. And sometimes when Saul, the military is about to go to war, someone has to come and do sacrifices. He won't show up. Just to put pressure on the guy. And the moment Saul takes matters into his hands, he shows up. You know, and I'm saying all this to say that God had to come in and heal Samuel. Yeah. And he said to Samuel, how long will you mourn? 1 Samuel chapter 16 verse 1. How long will you mourn? How long will you mourn? There comes a time that you have to make up your mind.
It's over. It's done. It's done. It's time to go.
Fill your horn with oil. And you know something, Pastor Asma, Pastor Gospel? God gave him the same assignment again. Go and anoint another king.
Yeah.
So, don't think that you can run away from what is not running away from you. There are some things that you've got to face. And that is what part of the process of our maturity. But please, speak into that, man of God. Speak into that.
I think you said it. You said it all. How long are you going to sit down mourning and weeping? And by the way, anytime you sit down and you are crying, remember the person and the relationship that you lost. That individual is probably having the best of his time somewhere, having a party, having a good night's sleep, and you are in your room mourning, and they are not there. So you know what they are doing? They have like a remote control. Remotely, they are controlling your emotions. So why don't you just let it go? Remind yourself again, like you pray. Move on. Move on.
Move on. MoveOn.com. It's a website.
I think it's something we have to look at very well. Why do we get ourselves into that state? The fundamental principle is the world we live in today. Many of us laugh from our head and not from our heart.
No.
Okay.
Our laugh is from our head. And
that's a heavy duty. Please, can you write it down for yourself?
The way we do things. So we calculate, we examine, we do all kinds of things, and we believe this is how it should have been, it should have been that. And that's why when you think about something so much, the head keeps going on. Because you are working it out and you think there should have been an ideal way it should have been, but it's gone the other way around. When people are not in your heart, they are on your nerves.
Ooh.
They're going to give you problems.
These things are heavy. These things are heavy. These things are heavy.
They're going to give you problems. They're going to give you problems. So we keep having all this negative stuff because they are on our nerves. But if we put them in our heart, love comes from God. And if we subscribe to this love from God, then it's easy to transfer it to other people, no matter the problems we go through.
Wow, this is brilliant. Listen, I'm going to take a 5-second break and tell you about ISI tomorrow. The flyer is going to come up there. We want to let you know that if you haven't registered, please go register. If it is closed, find a way around it. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be great. It's going to be amazing. You don't want to miss ISI. Listen, this is going to be epic, and you understand it if you don't show up. You have to be there, or you are going to be square. Dr. Otabil is in town. Dr. Chand is in town. Dr. Smith is in town. We are all in town. People have traveled from far and near. And talking about traveling from far and near, it is my pleasure and my joy to welcome all the way from the great nation of Germany, All Nations Church, Düsseldorf, Germany, our own apostle, Jesse Morrison Ayoma. Jesse, welcome. Welcome home. Welcome. A lot of you know him.
Thank you.
He is one of our own. And you just want to say hello to friends.
Yes.
You can even speak in German.
Hello, everyone watching. I'm grateful and I'm very honored to be here. Yes.
Okay, thank you, Pastor Jesse. Please shoot your questions to him, but there's a question that comes out of here. Pastor Asma has a vested interest, so I'm going to answer that for him. Clifford says, do you have Clifford's question? Yeah, put it up there. Clifford says, and I'm sure he's directing it to me. You will have asked Pastor Asma 10 times. So what are the key lessons you've learned from your own relationships that you wish you knew earlier when you were a young man? All right. Key lessons. If I'm going to lessons, we'll not get out of here. So one of the things I learned in relationships was maybe a couple. That number one, sometimes great relationships don't start on a very good note. And I think I lost some potentially great relationships because as a young man, I didn't realize that, like Pastor Gospel taught us a few minutes ago, that sometimes things start wrong. But we can correct as we go, and they become better. People have their choices. And then the other thing that I learned was the fact that I got into relationships with some wrong ones. I didn't build some boundaries in some relationships. They are not evil. They are not like witches or wizards, but I realized that it was just not good for where I was heading towards. Because some people will take advantage of you. Some people will just come to your life to find things about you, take advantage of you, eat what they want to eat, dump you, and that kind of. And it has it can make your heart bitter. So I learned over the years to be very circumspect when it comes to that. And I also learned that I'm not called to everybody. I'm not called to everything. I'm called to somebody, and I'm called to something. And so I don't have to walk about the whole town with a placard. I need relationship. No. Even one person that God brings into my life. You know, as I sit here, to tell you the truth, let me say this. I don't normally talk about that. I could have planted 100 churches in America easily. But people who know me know my philosophy that when I have somebody that I'm in very strong relationship with in a particular city, I normally wouldn't go there to plant a church. What is the point? I'd rather keep a relationship than plant a church and lose it because you never know. Churches can collapse. Churches can split. Churches can go away.
Right.
What about relations? For me, that is because at the end of the day, when we die, no U-Haul is going to follow our casket with all the churches who planted following after you. So this chieftaincy, tribalistic chieftaincy, I'm not into that. I'm into kingdom. So for me to come into Düsseldorf, knowing that I have a relationship with Pastor Jesse, he has a church. He's trying even to get, German, to gather 3 people. It's a whole university curriculum. Then I come and pitch my tent next door to him that God didn't send me. No. God, listen, if 2 people are doing the same thing in one vicinity, one of them is irrelevant. So, therefore, that is what I got out of it. Pastor Jesse, any observations for tonight?
Yes.
Since you sat down to observe us, anything?
When I listened to, thank you first and foremost, Papa, for this opportunity.
Yes.
I was learning a lot sitting over there, listening to my big brothers and, all the insight they were just putting in. I was learning as well. And there was one question that came about how you can deal with your hurts and how to overcome them. And I would like to elaborate on that, a little bit when I was sitting there. I believe that our hurts and pain can only be healed in the presence of God. You know, because we are humans, we have our flesh that sometimes, wants to misbehave and all that. We don't have the power in ourselves to overcome some things. But as children of God, if we learn to go to God's presence and just give it to Him, just to let God do it, because there are some things we're not worried for it. So if we learn to go to His presence and tell Him where we put all our the pains and the hurts that we go through in life, we have a place we call the head pocket, where we keep all our pains and all that. But when we go to His presence and just look miserable before God and just let God do it, and I believe that God has a way of working on us, doing surgery on us and healing us without even we taking notice of that. So in the process of time, before you realize that you let go of some things that you don't have the power in your own strength to let go. So I believe that if you go to God and tell Him how you feel about the whole situation and how you hurt, I believe that God is able to heal you from that hurt and pain.
Pastors, one of the things I've realized in this life, in this short life that I have, is that almost every good thing in life comes with interesting things around it. Like they tell us that if you want to get a rose, be ready for the thorn. And I want us to work on a very sensitive area, which I feel is very important. Because we are talking about relationships. And one of the most damaging things about relationship is in the area of divorce. And people go through divorce. And for me, one of my biggest pain is how sometimes we don't listen to people's stories. We demonize them. We think they are evil. We think they are this. And we don't take our time to listen to where they are coming and even make attempt to heal people. There may be somebody looking at me right now, and sadly, sometimes it's the places that the hospital that is supposed to heal them is the place that infects them with guilt, with all of these things. Do you know if you have any, there may be somebody watching us. They had to walk away, or somebody had to walk away from them. They had to escape an abusive situation, life or death, something, or they made a mistake in one lifetime. Do people have to live with guilt forever? What can we do? Pastor, can you look at somebody and talk to them, or Pastor Jesse, somebody, and talk to somebody for me?
I would just say one thing, that it is not the end of your life. Daddy has a favorite saying: the bend in the road is not the end of the road. Unless you refuse to turn.
Right.
And this may have gone wrong. Yes, it was bitter. Yes, it was painful. Yes, you had an investment in that relationship and it didn't go well. Well, you are here now. The future is ahead of you.
Right.
Why don't you just gather, master every strength in you, trust in God for the next move, for your next tomorrow? That is bigger than what is behind you. So my admonition to somebody in that place is that get up, take that mat. When that man was healed by Jesus, Jesus came to him and asked him, do you want to be healed? The man started giving excuses. And then he said, you know what, you have to get up, take up your mat. Jesus didn't roll up the mat for him. And so to someone who is hurting, please get up, roll that mat, and start walking. And live.
Right.
Live.
Does it just any input in that? Because I feel this burden. I think people are packaged with greatness, but the outer core of some broken things. I'm going to let you speak. Something hit me, There's a message I prepared that I haven't preached yet. Pastors, when Paul was shipwrecked and in the Mediterranean, and their boat was broken and everything, Paul said something that, the broken pieces of the ship, they hung on, and the broken pieces brought them to land, saved them. So I tell people that not everything broken is useless. Not everything that is broken is useless.
You have to hashtag that. Write it down.
Not everything broken. The ship was broken, but the broken pieces are the ones that saved 276 people on the high seas in the Mediterranean. So please, you may be broken, but you are still useful.
You're useful.
Right.
You may be broken, but God is with you. Sometimes we get so judgmental. Sometimes we look at people, oh, they are difficult, they are this. Listen, I've known people who have had 2-3 marriages gone wrong. And when you listen to them intently, none of them was their fault. And even if it was, so what? That's why Christ died.
Yeah, right.
Pastor Jesse, I don't know
Yes.
if you...
Yes, divorce is a very ugly thing. My papa here was the one who counseled us and the same person who blessed us in our marriage. And when we were discussing about this, I remember one thing illustration that he showed while he was counseling us. When two people come together, it's like taking one sheet of paper and another sheet of paper and putting a glue and, you put them together and you try to separate them. You destroy both papers, right? And that's how divorce is like. It's an ugly thing. I have seen a lot of people going through divorce, and you see how they started from the beginning. You meet them, everything was, going through wonderfully, But when you see them now after divorce, how things are going and how they relate to each other and how it affects the children and the whole family, it's an ugly thing. And I want to say this to somebody. As I said earlier on, we go through things in life that is beyond our capacity to handle. And I believe that as children of God, if we learn to go to God's presence and, just be ourselves and cry to God, He only has the power to heal us.
Yeah.
And,
Thank you.
Our pain
Thank you, Pastor Jesse. I don't think anybody in their right mind gets up in the morning, praise Lord, I'm going to work, but I'm trusting you for a car crash. Nobody does that. In the same tone, nobody starts marriage with, I want to get a divorce. But sometimes things happen.
Yeah.
Listen, if you are hurting, seek counsel. Don't let it wait too long. Because anytime you create a vacuum, the enemy will step into it.
Sure.
And if you've gone through that, that's not the end of your life.
Yeah.
Don't run away from church. Don't run away from people. People can be mean. People can say, okay, so that's fine. Wherever you go to church, go back and serve your God.
Yeah.
If it's that you can't even go back to that same church, find another church and become useful to the Lord.
Yeah.
Don't let this thing stop you. Don't let this thing make you feel like there are people who are happily married, but only God knows.
Yeah.
Only God knows. We have just a few minutes. We have a few minutes. Yes. Somebody, Nicholas, you are trying to pull me back to, you say it's a strange question. So, the ambassador, the episode about stand your ground. How is it possible to face enemies at your gate, fight with all your courage, and still realize that you need somebody to help you out? Well, everybody needs somebody. Pastor, what do you say about it? It says, the one I taught on stand your ground. Yes.
How possible is it to face enemies at your gate, fight with all your courage, and still realize that you needed someone to help you out?
Like David against is it King David Ishbel, the brother of the giant?
Right.
He almost took David out,
Yes.
but somebody had to
come in.
Yes, to come and help.
Yeah.
So there are some battles you fight and you need
try
help.
it by yourself.
Yes, don't try. I like that. Don't try it by yourself. But I hope you agree with that.
Yes, definitely.
I hope you agree with that. Yes.
Definitely.
Yes.
Yes.
You need a hand. You need somebody to hold your hand.
Yes.
And fight with you.
Okay. Well, somebody said here that the people of God must stop looking at divorcees as failures. I totally agree with you, because for me, those are considered the greatest failures are people who gossip and destroy people's lives. They are worse than the worst.
Yeah.
Oh yes, who say things that are not true about people. They've caused people to lose marriages, potential marriages.
Yeah.
They lose their jobs. They lose ministries. They take food from their table, roof over their head. You are worse. And those are the people that will talk about everybody's issue. Everybody's issue. Okay. I don't know if I want to get into this, but maybe Pastor Asma or Pastor Jesse, maybe just Nana is asking a question about is church hurt a real thing? And how can members address conflicts in relation to leaders or leadership? Sometimes I don't like to deal with the leader because every situation is, and I don't want what I say here to become your weapon to go there to say he said that. So, but is church hurt a real thing?
It's just like asking, is offense a real thing?
Okay.
Because
Hurt is hurt, isn't it?
Hurt.
So it could be Walmart hurt,
It could be
or hurt is hurt. So hurt is a real thing.
It's a real thing.
Yes. But why do people magnify? Well, maybe no, let me know. Because I'm saying that why do people magnify church head? But maybe people expect a higher standard.
They don't expect offense to be at church.
Yeah.
They don't offense that hurt you. As for church, it should be all clean.
But wasn't it a prophetic word that was said about a certain Jesus? That was it Zephaniah or Zechariah who said that, and they will look at the nails in my hands and ask, where did you get these wounds? And he said, I was wounded in the house of my own people.
Yeah.
It's in your Bible. Don't look at me like that. In your own house. Jesus was in his own house. But you know what? He got up and he did amazing things. I can assure you. Meet me Friday night. You'll be okay.
Yes.
You will be okay. You'll be okay. You'll be okay. But it's been an amazing. This is what I'm going to do. This is what I'm going to do. I've got Pastor Jesse here and I've got Pastor Joasma here. I'm going to give all of them, just every one of them, 1 minute or less to look at you in the eye, whether they want to pray for you or they want to say something to you about this currency called relationship. So I'm going to start with Pastor Joasma. Your time starts now.
I just want to look straight into the camera based on what Daddy picked up earlier on. You are hurting. A marriage that didn't go well. Some divorce that is gotten you into this trap. And I pray that today, I pray, God, that you release out of that cage, out of that bondage of bitterness, hurt. You've been crying for too long. You've been crying, having sleepless nights. May the Lord give you the grace to rise out of those ashes. Get up again, put on that makeup, go out and do what God has put in your heart and in your life to do. It is not over for you. It is not over yet. There's still more that God greatness is lying inside of you, waiting and crying for that expression. Get up and keep on living.
He's talking like Mark II of a certain ambassador of hope. Pastor Jesse, look at this.
I would like to refer back to what Papa said last week in one of his points. You know, life doesn't just happen. You know, you have to be intentional if you want to get the best out of it. Yeah. So relationship is foundational, you know, and, you know, Papa did justice on that, how important relationship is. We need it. You know, we can't, you know, live life without relationship. God is a relational God, and he created us to have relationship with us. And I want to say this to encourage somebody. Don't say that I'm not good at building relationship. I was not brought up in a very relational way. My wife is more relational than me, you know, but I have to learn it. I remember one of my years here in ISI, you know, when I came, I would just sit at my corner somewhere minding my own business. But I remember Papa said, what are you doing there? You don't get to know people and all that kind of things. It helped me a lot. And today it has helped me to build a lot of networks and all that. So if you want to build relationship, be intentional.
Be intentional. Did you hear Pastor Jesse? Be intentional.
Yeah.
Thank you. You know something, I'm going to do something. It may not be camera good, but I'm going to bring Pastor Gospel back. I want him to look at you in the eye and in 1 minute tell you something. Just look at you in the eye. So if you can train the camera on Pastor Joe, whilst we trade places, it's okay. Pastor Gospel is coming. He's coming up. We are friends. Yes, Pastor Gospel. Yes, let's do that. You know, we can be happy. We are happy. You see, we are happy people. Happy family. Pastor Gospel, look at them and tell them something.
I was going to do this, whether Daddy was going to call me or not. I was just going to come and say, look at what is happening here. It's an example of relationship. We are all around a Father. We are here. This is the ambassador of hope. And everything God has given him, he's sharing it with you, with us, and practically building relationship, making sure that the next generation is fortified with something so we can move on. So I want to encourage you, just as it's been said, be intentional about your relationships, and I believe that is going to go a long way to help you, help people, help those that are around you. Thank you, Daddy, for this opportunity. Thank you for being an example to us.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Love you guys. But listen, you know I'm a stickler for time. My time is up, but I think Alusha Olivier's question is something I want to address for you, because I think he says, what boundaries do I set with myself when it comes to caring for someone, especially when I feel I'm being taken for granted? Learn to say no. And no is a complete sentence. When you know you are being taken for granted, a lot of things that happen, if you know that you could have done something about it and you don't do it, then it's your fault. Sometimes people use guilt to control you. Sometimes It's maybe the weakness of your own emotions, so you can't say no. Please learn to say no. Dr. Sam Chan taught us something, that before 45 years, you get by saying yes. After 45, you should get by saying no. But when you get to my age, I don't care. Not that I don't care about you, but I do. Thank you for spending this 1 hour with us. I look forward to seeing you next Tuesday. From all of us, Pastor Joe, Pastor Gospel, Pastor Jesse, want to say God bless you. We love you. Yes, and to all our wonderful crew here in the studio, they do amazing things. We love you. Listen, I'll see you tomorrow. ISI, make sure you tune in. And we'll see you when we see you. Bye-bye.
Bye.